We're here at Smash Summit, Beyond the Summit's very first Smash event. And I've got here with me Tafokints, Daniel Lee. I would like you to start us off by telling the people how you identify your role in the Smash community, both as it is and as you'd like it to be, as player and as personality and everything else. Okay, microphone's yours, go.
Okay. So for the most part, I'm largely retired as a player. I'll go to tournaments, I'll go to majors, but I don't care how I place very much. So if there's conflicting priorities and I need to forfeit singles bracket, I will forfeit it. As a community figurehead, I love to bring out narratives. I like to do stats, just anything that could enhance the viewer experience. And so right now I have a website that runs stats, but I want to see that expand to everything.
Okay, great, thanks. That's good to know, because you know what? Everybody wants to be Mango. Everybody wants to be Armada. Not enough people want to be Toph. Not enough people want to be Tafo. We need more aspiring people to just say, you know what? I can skip the glory and the stage and support the scene in other ways. We need that, so that's really good to hear. Let's talk for just a moment. And again, we only have so much time here. Yeah. But let's talk about 20xxte, because it fascinates me. We have the option to, among other things, freeze the stages. And it's the first time I've ever just really salivated at the idea of modding Melee. Previously, I've scoffed at it. But it's such a tricky situation. And as a great mind in Melee, I would like your perspective. It's a year from now. Are people using it, and should they?
I think it's a really great tool. I don't think the stage freezing will be implemented into official tournament play, because we've had such a we had the same rule set for such a long time that it would take a large pool to make any sort of change. Now, what I'm really interested in is the replay system. So everything that's off stream, I would love to have the memory cards in every system to record replays so that we can have it all archived in the long run.
Well, its creator, Dan Salvato, has been very clear that the option should be there for the freezing stages. He wants it to be a gentleman's clause and things like that, and I'm more of an absolutist. But yes, the archival purposes for minds such as yourself to sort through are very powerful. But we'll have to make a decision. In your opinion, okay, and this is a big one for me, but in your opinion, can the community continue to behave as an organism, just sort of doing what it will do and letting, Darwinism or capitalism or whatever form us? Or will there at some point be the need for some sort of governing body to make decisions or at least recommendations?
I mean, I feel, to be honest, there are power players in the scene, whether they like it or not, that make these large decisions. So the people that run the largest tournaments are going to have the largest weight because everybody's going to be there. People like Juggle Guy, people like people running Genesis 3. And so there is kind of like an Illuminati that kind of establishes rule sets. And I hope that they continue to make the right decisions, listen to, all the arguments from different people, and then make informed decisions on behalf of everybody.
You've done a great job at compartmentalizing your answers, so I'm going to challenge you even further to answer this question in 90 seconds or less. So let me set it up for you. There's a bunch of kids playing this game, right? And we're just happy that we're playing it, and then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, and sometimes I kind of feel like we don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And much like I always think about Social Network, we just don't know what it is yet. It's cool. Yeah. That's kind of where we are, but we'll probably need to monetize properly at some point. I think that's smart, but it's tough. I don't have a degree in business. We need smart minds. If I'm putting you on the spot, you haven't had time to prepare for this question, except for when you think about it in your bed at night. How are we doing right now monetizing, and how can we pursue that, if we even should?
In the beginning, you mentioned that people will always play. So for the fact that we are becoming quote unquote more corporate or more esports, doesn't change the fact that you can play in your room with your friends and have fun playing Melee. Now, as we scale up and there's a demand for more professionalism and more quality in the streams, that comes with a cost. Bigger venues, this equipment, this microphone I'm holding costs money. And until we adopt the mindset that we need to be reinvesting with money, if we continue to be averse to it, we're going to hit a plateau. And the whole message that I want to bring to people is we need to be reinvesting money into Melee, or else we're just going to cap eventually, and we're not going to see any more growth.
think there was like 50 seconds, Tafo. Good work. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, this is interesting. So, first of all, tell me if I'm off base and then also react to it. But it seems like now in this era where we have all these big esports organizations looking at us, the Melee and Omni rankings are so important because I kind of feel like the Summit guys were like, well, who's good at Melee? Well, do they have a ranking system? I guess they do. It's Melee and Omni's list and who are the top 10 players. And I've heard that you haven't had enough support as I might like to know from judges, from voters. Yeah. Am I correct in thinking the Melee and Omni rankings will be doubly important going to 2016? And are you okay with taking on that challenge, and what are you doing to meet it?
So it's a funny story because I just kind of did it for fun the first year in 2013. I just mimicked what ESPN was doing with their NBA players, and I didn't imagine that it would have this much influence over the community. With that being said, it is kind of frustrating at times when I ask like 80 to 100 people to say, like, can you do this list for me from all over the world? And then less than half return it to me, and then I get complaints that I'm not representing the whole world. But part of it is because people from certain regions aren't supporting me. So I hope, I imagine, even though I'm not trying to make it big and important, it naturally becomes important because, you know, that's the only list we have. I would hope that more people are for participating and, you know, giving their voice in and not just scoffing at it later after they see the results.
For sure. Again, putting you on the spot, would you consider doing it biannually instead of annually so it's more accurate?
So I actually kind of do that. So around the summer, I was a little bit late this time just because of how busy work was. I usually do a summer top 25 just because there's so many big tournaments around, and I want, you know, the narrative writers from like Team Liquid to know the storylines and know who to look for if they're kind of interested in watching the big tournaments. So I do that in the summer, and I usually try to do one right at the beginning of the year or at the end of December.
Fantastic. What do you think is, you have to pick one, the number one challenge facing Smash right now? Let me rephrase it before you answer. I don't mean problem. I mean challenge, something we have to rise to continue to progress. What should we be focusing our efforts and energy on if you had to pick one thing?
I look at tournaments, the largest tournament. I think the biggest challenge I see is the idea of burnout for top players. And I think the counter argument that's been made to me is, well, players can pick and choose what tournaments they go to. But if there's nothing established in saying which tournament is the one to go to, whereas previously we had one in the summer, one in the winter, we may never have another tournament where all the top 10 players are at their peaks at the same time. And so we do get cheated out of prime sets because we're always going to say, well, this player's not here or this player's burning out. And I feel like a circuit would put everybody on the same page. These events, yeah, you can come to them, not as important, but at the end of the circuit, here's the finale. Here's what you need to be focusing on. You can't John about this event. You need to perform. And that can help everyone establish, like, okay, everyone was expected to play at their best at this tournament. Who did the best? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest issue we're coming across today.
I think that's fantastic insight. Depending on when you measure Leffen as a god, and if I'm not mistaken, the 6 gods have never been in a top 8 together, right? Because they were at MLG, but Leffen, I'm not sure he was a god then. He was just about there. Yeah. So we don't have that. There's always one missing and the one this and the one that, and so I think you make a fantastic point. Listen, we're about done here. We're going to do a speed run. Okay. I've done this with all the players, so I'm going to fire off some questions at you. You just give me your gut answer, all right? Okay. I'll hang on to the microphone. All right, speed run. Tafo. Mountains or ocean?
Ocean.
GG's or pop-off?
GG's.
Frozen or Tangled?
Frozen.
What year was Melee released?
2002.
Who was your first main?
Link.
Who's the best Smasher of all time?
Mango.
Who's going to win this weekend?
Armada.
There you have it. Smash Summit, thanks for watching, and Tafo, thanks for your time.